I do have time for an introduction. Let's go ahead and get into it. Hey everybody, my name is Trey, for those of you who do not know me, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. For those of y'all who do not know me, I do talk about true crime, and I do it in a way that's a little different. I hope you guys like it. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notify button so that you can get the latest updates on all my videos that I have coming out. And make sure that you also follow me on here, TikTok, and Facebook. But make sure you guys follow me because it's a lot to talk about. I know I've skipped a couple of weeks. I'm sorry. It's been a couple of weeks since I've actually put up a video. I got so much going on right now. I have, of course I'm doing my things for this. I'm not really making any money off this anyway. So like, I'm not doing it. I'm not really getting paid. So I'm doing this for free, basically. And on top of this, I have school. For y'all who don't know, I am in school. I am right now doing criminal justice. But once I'm done, I'm going into law. So, I'm doing school, I work, and I might want to have a life as well. And it's a lot to juggle all three of these, trying to go to the gym and all that good stuff. So, sorry. And plus, I need kind of a little bit of just a little bit of a break from things. But aside from that, y'all, just my hair. Look at this crap. Y'all see this? Man, my hair looks good. It does. It truly does. I'm so glad. Today's story, it's not so much as it's like a brutal story, but it's just like, you just can't trust people, and it's one of those stories where it just make you go, dang, that sucks. I don't know, I think I have talked quite a bit. You guys know I'm really not that big for talking too much before the video, but I kind of went on a little bit on this, so I do apologize about that. But in either case, enough of my yapping. Let's go ahead and start the story. Today's story starts in March of 1998, and it starts with Virginia Caudill. In March of 1998, Virginia Caudill lived with her boyfriend. His name was Stephen. Now, Stephen and Virginia had started to get into some problems, and most of those problems revolved around Virginia's use of drugs and narcotics. It got so bad to the point where Stephen eventually kicked Virginia out of the house. This is kind of a depiction of how that may have gone. Virginia, what are you doing? Stephen, what are you doing here, Stephen? Virginia, that's too much crack. Oh, it was just a little bump. It wasn't too much. You scared me, Virginia. You're scaring me. Stephen, You've never had a problem with it before, Stephen. No, Virginia. I have dealt with this with you for a long time. You have to give up the crack. Give up the crack. Well, Stephen, what are you saying? Well, damn it, Virginia. You have to choose now. It's either me or the crack. I have to choose? I have to choose between what, Stephen? Choose me. Love me. Need me. Oh, Stephen. I would never give up crack for you. Virginia. Not for you, Stephen. I would never give up crack for you. Virginia, you're breaking my heart. You're breaking my heart. For you, Stephen. Then you gotta go. Now you gotta go. You gotta go. Now, after Steve kicked Virginia's big dusty crackhead ass out of the house, she had nowhere to go. So, thinking like a true crackhead, she went to her local crack house to purchase some drugs. At this local crack house, that was when she actually ran into a longtime friend. His name was Jonathan Wayne Goforth. Now, Virginia and Jonathan actually haven't met each other in quite a while. It's been about 15 years, as a matter of fact. But when they linked up randomly at this crack house, it was just like old times. I can imagine that interaction with something like this.
Clean up on aisle 3.
John Wayne Goforth. Well, I'll be damned if it isn't Sweet Vance, Virginia. It's been a year, it's been a day. How are you doing? It's been a long time. It's been a long time. Yeah, yeah. So what brings a little old lady like you down to the local crack house? Well, I just got out of a relationship. Oh well, you see, I'm sad to hear that. You know what? What'll make you feel better is a nice line of crack. You know, I could use me a line myself. Well, thing is, sugar, I don't actually have any money on me right now. So we can't do some. I would love to get some crack, but I don't have any money. You know what? My ex-boyfriend, his grandmother, she used to give me money all the time. I bet she'll get. I definitely bet. You want to go see? Well, I see here that sounds like it might be a good plan. Well, good. And how about this? I'll just ask her for a little bit of hotel money. Drive me over there. I'll take care of us.
Price check for crack on aisle 3. Price check for crack on aisle 3.
A little known fact is some of the most creative people on earth are two crackheads. So in this scenario where you have Jonathan and Virginia, two crackheads who met at the local crack house, when they needed some money, they decided to go and ask the grandmother of Virginia's recently ex-boyfriend, Steve. So the pair hopped into Jonathan's truck and then they drove over to Lynetta's house to ask for some money. Now, when they got to Lynetta's house, they asked for money under the pretense of getting a hotel for the night. It didn't quite go like that. I can imagine that the interaction went something like this. Oh, Lynetta, I thank you so much for letting me up in here. You know, it's so nice to see your house and yeah, why are you here? Well, as you may have heard, me and Steven, we didn't work out. We broke up. And it's just been hurting my heart. My grandson, he told me about you. Told me about you and why you broke up. You crack hole hussy. That's always a good time to see you, Loretta. So anyway, I need money for a hotel since I'm now kicked out on the streets. You're not gonna let me stay out on the streets. Remember all the time we spent together. How much you need? $30. 20 or 30, either one do. Either one, 20 or 30. I'll take whatever. $30? You couldn't even lay down with one of them Johns at the crack house you stay at and get that $30. You open them legs to everybody else, but you can't get your money. You ain't even a good hoe. I'll give it to you. Can you make it 50? I can make it 20. What about that? Would that do better for you? Then you take what I give you. Fine. Here. Oh, thank you. Now don't come back around here now. Now, even though Virginia went to Lynetta, which is her ex-boyfriend Steve's grandma, and asked for money for a hotel for the night, do you really think that she spent it for a hotel? Of course not. So Virginia and Jonathan Wayne Goforth, they decided to go back to the crack house and they bought some more crack. Now, you could possibly imagine $30 isn't enough for a lot of crack, I would assume at least. So they used it up pretty quick. After they used up the $30 worth of drugs and narcotics that they purchased from the crack house, they decided that they wanted more. They couldn't really just go back to Lynetta and ask for more money because they originally told her that it was money for a hotel. What would they have spent that money on that quick? They decided they were going to go back to Lynetta. They just weren't going to go nicely. Now, from this point forward, there are two different versions of how this story actually went. The first version is the version that is told by Virginia, and the second version is the version that's told by Jonathan. I'm going to tell you both versions, and once we're done, I'm going to give you my opinions on what I actually think happened. But let's go ahead and start with Virginia's. Now, the only similarities between both of the stories was that they went back to Lynetta's house around 3 a.m. According to Virginia's version of the story, once they went to the house, Virginia came, she knocked on the door, and she waited for Lynetta to come to the door. Now, in her version, she had actually just asked for more money, in which case Lynetta, for whatever reason, said, okay. And so, in Virginia's version, Lynetta turned around to get her purse. During this time when Virginia walked into the door, Jonathan was actually hidden just out of sight beyond the door. So as soon as Lynetta turned around and reached into her purse to grab some more money, for whatever reason, Jonathan jumped from behind the door and he viciously attacked Lynetta. Once he started attacking Lynetta, Virginia started asking him, like, why are you doing this? What's going on? During the attack, Jonathan really didn't pay Virginia any attention as he continued to beat viciously on Lynetta. Virginia also stated that Jonathan had tied up Lynetta and then took her into another room where he continued to beat her until she died. In all accounts of the stories, while Lynetta was being beaten by whoever it was, she was screaming out, why are you doing this? Help me, to the other person. She was screaming out, help me, to Virginia while Jonathan was beating her. Now let's pause and let's go and see what Jonathan had to say about what actually happened. In Jonathan's version of the event, he and Virginia went back to Lynetta's house. They were going under the guise that their car had broken down and they just wanted to get inside to use the telephone. They were actually planning on robbing her from the jump. Once Lynetta let them inside of the house, they began to ask her for money. When Lynetta would not give them any money, whether she was out of money or whether she simply just didn't want to give it up, Virginia got really upset because this woman was her ex-boyfriend's grandmother and she didn't particularly like her. And when Lynetta would not give them any money, Virginia produced a hammer. Jonathan recognized his hammer because his hammer was a hammer that was inside of his truck that they had driven to her residence in. Once she pulled out the hammer, she started to viciously beat on Lynetta. In both versions of the story, whoever had told it, after Lynetta was dead, they decided to ransack the house, in which case they stole jewelry, they stole guns, and even a mink coat that Lynetta owned. Also in both versions, whoever had actually killed Lynetta decided to put Lynetta in the back of her own trunk. Once Lynetta was loaded up with all of the stolen goods in the back of Jonathan's truck, they both decided to get inside of the vehicles and drive it to a secluded location. According to both of the stories that were told, whoever had actually killed Lynetta, once they got to the secluded location, decided to set the car on fire. Once the car was set on fire, they just left with their stolen goods. And that's kind of the end of where the stories are being told by either or. At this point in time, whoever killed her, Lynetta was dead. Now, later that same day, which is going to be March the 15th of 1998, the police, they found Lynetta's body inside of the vehicle because it was set on fire. You know, they just set it on fire and then they left. So it wasn't hard for them to find the vehicle. When they did find the vehicle, though, she was burned so badly they could not identify her, you know, by looking at her body. I'm sure they were able to do like dental records, and I'm not sure exactly how they actually were able to identify her. I mean, maybe just, you know, by the car, VIN number and everything. When the police actually found the body, you know, they notified the son, which was Steve, that, you know, your mom is dead. She was burned alive. And they started with the first lead, which was actually going to be Virginia, because she was the recent ex-girlfriend of Steve. Yeah, they didn't think that one through. Now, being that she was the ex-girlfriend, the police decided to, you know, find her and talk to her. Once they did find her, they asked her, hey, do you know anything about, you know, Mrs. Lynetta, since you're the ex-girlfriend recently? And she was found dead. when they approached her about this, she was like, I don't know. Wasn't me. I mean, I was with Jonathan all day. You can even ask Jonathan. Now, after the police had actually caught up with Virginia and they had asked her some questions, of course, she phoned Jonathan on the phone and she let him know, hey, the police might be looking for you, so what are we gonna do? Before the police could actually even find Jonathan, he had already found Virginia and they had already packed up and they left for Ocala, Florida. After they left Ocala, Florida, they both went to Goforth, Mississippi, and that's when they kind of split and went their separate ways, and Virginia decided to go to New Orleans. It was 6 months later that the police actually was able to catch Virginia. And when they caught Virginia, pretty soon after they were able to catch Jonathan. And of course, they both blamed each other. Virginia claimed that, oh, it was Jonathan. He did it. He forced me to do it. I didn't know what was going on. It was, that's what she said. Now, that boy Jonathan, he said, oh, it wasn't me. It was Virginia and some black guy. Why are we always in this? Why are we always put in this? Jonathan. You know what? He ain't gonna be able to answer. Whatever. So, according to Jonathan, Virginia and some random black dude did it. So, that's what we were. Now, I'm not sure why so many people do this, but when Virginia actually went to jail, she confessed. She told a couple of inmates that she had done it, but her stories that she told them were slightly different. The first inmate that she had told them that they had went to Lynetta's house for some money, but when Lynetta wouldn't give them any money, that she herself, Virginia, had grabbed a clock off the wall and beat Lynetta on the head, and that's why her head was crushed in. The second inmate that Virginia had told the story to, she told them that they had actually broke in to steal stuff from Lynetta, but when Lynetta had woken up and found them, they just decided to kill her at the last minute. At the end of the day, both of them were caught, and they are currently sitting on death row in Kentucky Department of Corrections. Crazy, right? Okay, so now that I've told you the story, I want to tell you a few of my opinions on this. Firstly, all of the versions of the story could be true. Could possibly be true. I mean, they were crackheads. They were on crack when they went and did this. But I don't think they actually just went and knocked. What I think happened, I think they both decided they were just going to try to rob Lynetta. And when Lynetta woke up, I think that they just killed him. I don't think they went there with the intention to kill her, because what would be the purpose? But they went there to rob her. Probably the first time when Virginia went there, she saw that Lynetta had a lot of stuff in her house. Probably maybe some valuables. I mean, of course, they did steal a mink coat. They stole jewelry. They stole her gun. So she had valuables. And plus, Virginia already knew Lynetta because that was her ex-boyfriend's grandma. And they had just broken up like the day before. So, yeah, I definitely think that they went there to rob her. They went to the robber and Lynetta kind of caught up. I don't believe Virginia's story that Jonathan just randomly decided to kill and Virginia was like, what are you doing? I don't believe that. I mean, I know he was a crackhead, but what would be the reason? What's the reason? What would be the reason? Unless she said no and he got upset and he attacked her then, but the version that Virginia had told the police was that Lynetta was turning around to get the money and then Jonathan just came out of nowhere. I don't believe that. That's just a highly unbelievable story in my opinion. So that's not something that I'm going to run with. They both suck though. I mean, but it's crack brain. It's crack brain. It's drug brain, And I'm not even listen to me right now. Right now, I'm not even really trying to be funny because I know drugs affect people. It's crazy. It's an addiction, and addictions, they can be. I'm not going to necessarily say genetic, but when you see people growing up that have addictions and stuff like that, it's easier for you to have addictions. And a lot of people have addictions, and not even just drugs. People are addicted to, work. That's an addiction. Addiction to sex. Addiction to drinking. Addiction to love. There's addiction to almost anything. People, they fall for a lot of stuff. Something that gives them that rush of serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin, I guess, whatever it is inside their brain. Their rush. Oh, addicted to eating. Oh, man. That's a good one. That's a real good one. But yeah, so yeah, it's something that I believe Virginia was the main aggressor. If Jonathan may have helped, but I believe that Virginia was the main aggressor because Jonathan didn't know these people from the back of his hand. It was Virginia's people, and she had just broken up with an ex-boyfriend. She was on drugs. I believe she's the one that actually went forward. And like I do think that Jonathan helped. I just don't think he just was the aggressor off the top. I don't think that, but I do definitely believe he helped because they had to get her body into the trunk, and they drove both vehicles to the spot where they burned her inside of the vehicle. So yeah, they both definitely deserve it, and they're on death row. They've been on death row since like 2000. So like, yo, it's been like 23 years. Death row was really, I believe they put people on death row just to say you're on death row, but I don't really think they have any particular, I don't think they're really planning on killing anybody. I don't think that's what they're there for, which, whatever, at least they're not in society. I guess it is what it is. But yeah, that's all that I have for you guys today. So what do y'all think about this story? Have y'all ever heard about them? I know for some of y'all who've kind of been with me for a while, I started off strictly by going down the death row inmates, state by state. And I kind of branched off because I started to gain, a lot of you guys are in other countries. And obviously, I don't know how to get into death row if y'all have death row. I think most countries probably really don't even have death row. But, so it's hard for me to get offender lists and stuff like that. So that's when I started going like on big stores. But yeah, y'all, there are a ton. For those of you who are in other countries, there are a ton of people on death row. Especially places like Texas, California, Florida. Them three states, hundreds. I mean, story after I don't want to say story. I don't want to like, lessen the offensive, but I'm just saying, like, there are so many people on death row. You know how many violent crimes they have to be committed? How many violent crimes? It's crazy. As a matter of fact, I believe either Texas or California has the highest, and I mean, there's hundreds. It's probably about 1,000 between those three states alone that are on death row. Probably. I'm just guesstimating at this point. But I know Texas has a ton. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more death row inmates because I kind of want to go back to death row and kind of see what those people are doing. I don't want to do a whole lot of repeats because a lot of people are on death row for like killing people at gas stations, and that sucks. That really sucks. And I don't want to just keep going down. Oh, this person killed somebody at a gas station. Oh, this person killed somebody at a gas station. Oh, this person killed somebody at a gas station. What is it? Well, I guess it's a gas station. But they don't really carry a whole lot of money. Why are they such hot spots? I don't know. I think I'm rambling. at this point. But in either case, yeah. Have you guys ever heard about that? If you have, let me know. If you haven't, let me know what you thought about them. They suck. These two people really suck. They're on drugs. So, drugs make people do things. So I highly suggest that you guys don't do drugs if you don't already. If you are, currently battling addictions, I'm going to leave a number. I'm going to find a number. I'm going to put it here that you can probably contact for, trying to get help, mental health, something like that. Because, drugs, they're addictive for a reason. And, no one should have to go with it. No one should have to deal with it. No one should at least want to deal with that. So I hope that everyone is, getting better. I really do. All jokes aside, I know I get on here and I joke a lot about the instances surrounding the actual murder. I try not to actually crack jokes about the actual murder, but the instances around it. And it's just this. I know some people ask me like, why do you do that? And it's really for me because I'm not a dark person. I don't like dark stuff, and reading about this stuff, if I can't in my own mind make it more palatable, there is no, all this stuff would just make me jump in front of moving traffic. So I have to do what I can and still try to be respectful when I can, if I can. In either case, thank you guys for following with me. I thank you guys for listening. I really love you guys. I hope to bring more stories to you. Not hope, well, I am going to bring more stories to you, but I hope that you guys stick around. Make sure you guys, once again, like, follow. I have Instagram, I have TikTok, I have Facebook. I have 3 places. And what is this? YouTube. 4 places that you guys can find me. And I'm always accepting, if you guys have suggestions, let me know, because I'm always accepting those through DMs, through comments. Let me know what you guys think. And I love you guys. Y'all have a good night. Peace out.